welcome back to my channel, and today I'm bringing you the first update for the Eyes Project Pan. This project was created by Deb B, who I'll have linked down below, as well as everyone else who has joined in. So just a quick reminder, the purpose of this project is to get uses out of your eyeshadows in any way that you see fit. Personally, myself, I am trying to get through all the eyeshadows in my collection, no pan left behind style. I am working on 4 palettes at a time, and this month I am pleased to say that I have 2 palettes rolling out, which means I have 2 new palettes rolling in. Before we get too far into this, I just wanted to put a quick reminder that these palettes are from other projects. So you will possibly see some spoilers, possibly you won't, but just keep that in mind while we're working through them. But let's jump straight into the 2 palettes that I have managed to hit goal on. We're going to be starting off with my Beauty Bay Book of Magic palette. Just a reminder, this is the palette that I'm currently using in my Dude You Panned My Battleship project game that I'm doing with Andrea from Pretty as a Peacock. I'll have that linked up in the cards. And though I have hit some fresh pans in here, I am yet to achieve that last hit. So this is what it is looking like now, and I'll put up on the screen a picture of this palette so that we can go through how many times I've used each shade since rolling it into this project. I used Vanish once, Stardust twice, Amulet once, Alchemy twice, Enchanted twice, Manifest twice, Wish once, Crystal once, Sorcery twice, Voodoo twice, Bewitched once, Spell twice, Hex 5 times, Charmed once, Elixir once, Moonlight once, Cursed twice, Jinx twice, Trick 3 times, and Potion once. I'm sure you can tell which shade I'm trying to hit pan on as part of my Dude You Panned My Battleship project. Overall, I really did enjoy this palette. As you can see, I have managed to hit quite a lot of pans during my Dude You Panned My Battleship project, which is yet to finish, so the game is still afoot. But I will say I am happy to be rolling it out this early in this project, so I won't have to, I guess, keep trying to use it later on in the year once the Dude You've Panned My Battleship project has ended. The other palette rolling out of this project is the BH Cosmetics 80s Remix Dance palette. This is what it looks like here, and I actually love this palette. Not just this palette, I think I have found a little bit of a love for the formula of BH Cosmetics. I would like to try more of their products. I do have a couple other palettes of theirs in my collection. I am actually using Wake Me Up in my eyeshadow look today. That one is part of my Beauty A to Z project pan, which I'll have linked up in the cards. And as you can see, I am yet to hit pan in it. But I'll pull this palette up on the screen and we'll go through how many uses I had on each shade. On Call Me, we have 1 use. On Love Shack, we have 2. Kiss, we have 1. Conga, we have 1. Spin Me, we have 2. Chameleon, we have 1. Wake Me Up, we have 3. Sweet Dreams, we have 2. Man Eater, we have 1. Straight Up, we have 1. In the Groove, we have 1. Super Freak, we have 3. Virgin, we have 1. Lips Sealed, we have 1. And Thriller, we have 1. I definitely created some beautiful looks with this palette, and it is a fantastic rainbow palette. Most of these shades are really light. I will say the one that almost sticks out a little bit is this one, Sweet Dreams, because it is quite a blackened blue shade. It is a gorgeous shade, but it is slightly darker than all of the other shades in this palette. So I did manage to use it. Obviously, I used it twice, but I probably actually, if I remember correctly, I did actually pair it with shadows from other pans as well. You will see a look where I did use it in my lookbook, which will be later on in this video. But that was the other palette that is rolling out of this project. Now jumping into the two palettes that will be remaining in this project. The first one we have is the Sample Beauty The Equalizer Palette Volume 1. This is what this one looks like right here. And I'll pull this one up on the screen and we'll go through what shades I've used. So rubber, we've used once. Tequila, we haven't used at all. Cuppa, we've used twice. Lime, we haven't used. Duck, we've used once. Vitamin, we've used once. Grass, we haven't used. Tea, we've used 3 times. Hopper, we haven't used. Sea, we've used once. Queen, we've used twice. Blue, we haven't used. Touch, we've used 3 times. Bell, we've used twice. O of Hearts, we've used twice. Bubble, we've used once. Gibber, we haven't used. Base, we've used once. Jabber, we've used once. Gum, we've used once. Atom, once. Hocus, we haven't used. Cocoa, we've used 3 times. Pocus, we haven't used. Eve, we've used once. We haven't used Gin or Thunder. We've used Bean twice. And we haven't used Lightning or Tonic. So running through the palettes like that, as you can see, I have actually got a decent use out of these middle shades just here. And while using it and while I was reading that out, you've probably seen a bit of how these shadows connect. It is kind of fun actually. So rubber and duck go together. Vitamin and C go together. We've got cuppa, tea that go together. It's quite a fun naming style that they've used in this palette. But I'm interested to know what you think of how this palette is laid out. I find it a little bit, I guess, higgledy-piggledy in its layout. I do enjoy how all these ones run. But the others, this side and this side, I kind of wish they were closer together. But I am enjoying this palette so far. I will say I did a look I repeated twice. So I did it the first time with my BH Cosmetics palette using the yellow and the orange and the red from down here. And then I repeated that same sunset look using this palette. And I will say that the shades in the BH Cosmetic palette do pack a little bit more of a punch compared to this palette. But overall, I am still enjoying the looks that I'm making from here. I am especially enjoying, if you couldn't tell by the numbers, these shades in the middle. And I'm looking forward to getting some more use out of it within this project. And the last palette that is still remaining in this project, and the one that I've actually got the least amount of use of, that is my I Heart Revolution's Tasty Avocado palette. This is what it looks like. Once again, I'll put it up on the screen and we'll go through the uses I have so far. So I don't have many uses in this palette. We'll start off with Smash. I've used that once. I haven't used Toast. I've used Avo once. I haven't used California. I've used Smoothie twice. I haven't used Half or Hass. I've used Guacamole once. And I haven't used any of the other shades. So that's Brunch, Green Gold, Mousse, Stone, Creamy, Bite, Pear, Foodie, Speed, and Lime. So since the starting of this project, I haven't used any of those shades at all, though I did use Mousse previously before this project began. So though I don't have much use out of this palette yet, I am looking forward to diving into it a bit more going forward, though I have enjoyed the shadows I have used from it. Now rolling on to the two palettes that I'm planning to roll into this project. I kind of took a bit of a leaf from Paula from A Beauty Guru Made Me Do It. Obviously, I'll have her link down below. And her Pan That palette theme that she's doing for this year. So she's doing Better Together. I have the following two palettes, which are both kind of new to my collection. They are along the same themes, and I have them both in my Beauty A to Z project pan. So I figured, why not roll them both in together, because they probably are better together. And those are these two I Heart Revolution palettes. So we have the Cocoa Pebbles and the Fruity Pebbles. Let me pull these up one by one. So the Cocoa Pebbles is, let me just move that plastic out of the way, is a bit more of a neutral palette. Currently I'm working on Quarry in my Beauty A to Z project. But that is the only shade that I've so far touched within this palette. So it's definitely a bit more of a neutral brown, golden kind of palette. Then moving on to the Fruity Pebbles palette. This is the opposite. This is the Rainbow palette. It definitely matches the type of cereal, though I'll say that we don't actually get this post Fruity Pebbles etc. here in Australia. It is not something that I ever really remember seeing or eating, but I kind of think it reminds me a bit of a cross between both these palettes, I guess. Is probably a cross between Cocoa Pops. That would be kind of like this one, and this one here would probably be a bit more like our Fruit Loops. That's probably how I imagine it would taste. But this, back to the palette really, this is our rainbow palette. So I figured rolling out those other rainbow palettes, I would roll in another one. I definitely think, looking at my makeup, majority of it is rainbow. I obviously have a soft spot for the rainbow eyeshadow. So the one that is in my Beauty A to Z is this one down here. It's the Yabba Dabba Doo shade, and currently I have not used it at all. So the eyeshadow uses that will be included in this project are only the ones that have occurred since starting this project. So since it's rolled in to this project, that is when the counting of the shadows starts. So any prior use doesn't count. So I'll put these two palettes up on the screen now so you can have a better look of what the shades I'll be working on look like. Please let me know down in the comments if there's any specific looks or things you would like me to try. So as I've been going along doing my looks throughout the, I guess, month or so since starting this project, I have been taking photos of all my looks. I was thinking about doing it in its own separate lookbook video, and please let me know if going forward that is something you would prefer. You'd prefer me to have it in its own video. But considering that this is the Eyes project and the whole purpose of this series is to get use out of your eyeshadows and go through those uses, I figured it would fit within this video. But like I said, let me know down in the comments if that's something that you would rather be a separate video, because there are quite a few looks and it will probably push out the time of this video. So we'll jump in to our lookbook and then we'll come back and I'll go through my pit and my peak of the month. we'll start off with my peak palette. I would say that my peak palette of the month is definitely my 80s Remix Dance palette from BH Cosmetics. I absolutely adored this palette and enjoyed every look that I made out of it. On the opposite side, I would have to say that my Pit, though I still enjoyed it heavily, but I'm only basing it off of the 4 palettes that I'm currently using at the moment, I'd have to say my Pit was my Sample Beauty palette. I found that these shades didn't pack as much punch as the BH Cosmetics, and because they were both rainbows, I did tend to compare them a little bit more. But in saying that, Pit is definitely not the term I would be using. It is a palette I definitely enjoyed, and I would definitely not think about decluttering it, but considering the 4 palettes, it is probably my Pit. Strangely enough, the shadow that I would probably consider my Pit shadow actually comes from my BH Cosmetics palette, and that is this shade Call Me. It's not a bad shade by any means. It is a bit of a, I would say it's meant to be a dusty rose, but it's a bit more of a dusty pink. Probably a bit more of a baby pink is kind of how I would describe it. And overall, I actually had a little bit of trouble incorporating it into a look. And the look I did do with it, I didn't love necessarily. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. So I will say that that was the last shadow I used in this palette when I was aiming to reach my goal, and it wasn't really my favorite. So that's the one I'm classing as my Pit. And funnily enough, my peak shadow actually comes from my Sample Beauty palette. And I would probably say that my peak shadow is actually this one here, Touch. I quite enjoyed this shadow actually. It is a taupey shimmer shade, and I actually used it 3 times throughout using this palette so far, and I've enjoyed every look I've made with it. So I'm going to class that one as my peak. I think it's because I was actually quite surprised with this shadow, because I really enjoy the bright shadows, especially from this palette. So I would probably say they're my peak overall, but this one kind of surprised me. I didn't expect as much from it as I ended up getting. And the neutral look that I created with it, I really enjoyed. But with that all said, that's all I've got for this video today. Please, like I've said, let me know down in the comments if there's anything you would like me to talk about more, or anything you'd like me to talk about less, or if you would like me to separate my lookbook out of this video. Please let me know down in the comments all your thoughts, feelings, and otherwise. Also, do you have any of these palettes, and which one is your peak or your Pit if you do have them? But that's all I've got for you today. So I'm Verity. That was the first update for my Enjoy Your Eyeshadows project pan. And now to the outro.